Okay, so let's just dive right in. We've all been there, right? You're a sysadmin, maybe a developer, or just a home lab enthusiast, and you're drowning in complexity.
Hmm.
Your infrastructure is fragmented. You've got Docker containers over here, some VMs and Proxmox over there, legacy boxes you can only SSH into, and then a bunch of cloud instances on AWS.
It's the classic context switching nightmare. You spend more time just trying to connect to things than actually working on them.
Exactly. And that's the headache our sources are trying to solve today. They introduced this tool, XPipe, which they're calling the ultimate connection hub.
That's the term they use, yeah.
Yeah.
And its entire mission is to get rid of that friction, to unify access to all those, completely different environments.
And that's our mission for this deep dive. We need to figure out not just what XPipe connects to, but more importantly, how. How does it become that single point of control for everything from a Windows server to a Kubernetes cluster?
And crucially, why its whole approach to design is so different. Because the single most compelling piece, the thing that really changes the game, is that it lets you access everything right from your local desktop.
Okay.
And here's the kicker. It does not require any setup, any agents, or dependencies on your remote systems.
See, that's the part that made me stop and really pay attention. The idea that you can point this at a machine, an old VM, a brand new cloud server, whatever, and connect without running some installer or tweaking a config file on the other end. That's where it gets really interesting because it just changes how you think about standardization.
It completely flips the script.
So if the promise is this universal hub, the first thing we have to look at is just how broad its reach actually is. I mean, looking at the source material, they didn't hold back.
They really didn't. And we can't just, read a giant list out loud. But for you, trying to manage all these different systems, we can break it down into some key categories. This goes way beyond just SSH. So you start with the basics, what they call core remote access. That's your standard SSH, of course. But it also pulls in your complex SSH config files, handles tunnel management, all of that.
Your table stakes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then you get into the huge world of virtualization and containerization. We're talking Docker, Docker Compose, but also Podman, LXD, and Incus. For VMs, it's Proxmox, Hyper-V, KVM, and all the common VMware tools, player, workstation, Fusion.
I mean, just stopping you there, that's pretty much every home lab and private data center setup I can think of.
And they keep going. They move on to specialized networks and cloud. So it understands modern overlay networks like Tailscale and NetBird, access tools like Teleport, and it integrates directly with cloud providers like AWS and Hetzner to just discover your servers automatically.
Okay, what about the weirder stuff? The local environments that aren't purely remote?
Yep, they have a category for that. Local and specialized shells. This covers your Windows subsystem for Linux, so WSL, Cygwin, MSYS2, and even PowerShell remote sessions. And of course, for orchestration, it fully supports Kubernetes clusters, pods, and containers. It treats all of it as one big inventory.
The real power, then, isn't just the connecting. It's what you can do with that giant list once you have it. The sources really stress the organization aspect. Being able to arrange hundreds of connections into hierarchical categories, that alone is a massive quality of life improvement.
And that organization leads directly to speed, because you can also create these custom shell login environments. So when you connect to, say, a specific production server, you're not just in a generic shell.
You're dropped right into an environment that's already set up.
Exactly. It has the right path variables, the right aliases, everything tailored for that machine's job. No more manual setup every single time you log in.
What's really fascinating about this is that XPipe isn't trying to be a new silo. It's not trying to replace your favorite tools.
No, it's an integration layer. It works with what you already love. Your favorite text editor, your terminal, your VNC client, and this is a big one, your password manager. It just acts as the switchboard operator, feeding the right credentials to the right tools.
Okay, so it connects to everything and it keeps it all organized. Let's talk about the day-to-day workflow. The real efficiency gains. We have to start with the terminal launcher. The sources claim it's actually faster. How can it be faster than me just typing swoosh myself?
It's a subtle, but honestly a brilliant little optimization. XPipe starts the connection handshake with the remote system while your local terminal app is still launching.
Oh, I see. So it's doing it in parallel.
Right. So by the time your terminal window is fully drawn and ready for you to type, the SSH session is already established or, almost there. It shaves off those crucial few seconds of waiting.
And it does this for any terminal.
Any terminal, any shell. It supports all the major emulators on Windows, macOS, and Linux. And it works with Bash, JDosh, Fish, CMD, PowerShell, the whole lot. It doesn't care.
And for power users, people who live inside things like Tama.
Absolutely. It integrates with multiplexers like Tomux and Zelledge. It works with custom prompts like Starship or OhMyShush. And you can configure it to open multiple sessions directly into a split-pane view, which is great for monitoring or debugging.
Okay, now for the feature that I think is the real killer app for developers, the file browser. The claim here is huge. The ability to use your entire arsenal of locally installed programs to edit remote files. So I can just double-click a YAML file on a remote server. It opens in my local VS Code. I hit save, and it's all handled automatically and securely.
That is the promise. And it's essentially creating a sort of high-performance temporary local mount of that remote file just for editing. It completely gets rid of that awful cycle of downloading with Staya, editing, and then uploading again.
I have to admit, I'm always a little skeptical of this stuff. We've all used things like SSH, and they can be, well, slow, especially over a bad connection.
That's a fair question. The sources suggest that because this is built from the ground up on their own agentless protocol and it's session-specific, it's far more responsive. They specifically say the workflow is optimized for professionals, so it's meant to feel snappy, not like a clunky remote mount.
And speaking of professional optimization, I love this dynamic elevation feature. Elevating a session with sudo in the middle of a connection.
Without having to disconnect and reconnect.
Yes. Having to drop a session just to restart it as root is such a pointless waste of time.
It's a huge pet peeve, yeah. And it ties back into that core idea. Because XPipe is managing the whole connection, it can inject the commands it needs to escalate your privileges inside the existing session. It's using client-side intelligence to get around a common remote limitation.
That makes sense.
And on top of that, the file browser supports seamless file transfers and tabbed multitasking, so you can work across multiple servers at once without losing your mind.
Let's shift gears into the engine room then. The versatile scripting system. This seems like where you turn all this convenience into real automation.
This is where the no-agent architecture really shines. I mean, it's profound. The key detail here is that XPipe can make your scripts, your own custom shell scripts, available in the path on any remote system you connect to.
Without you having to copy them over first?
Without any setup whatsoever on the target machines.
Wait, hold on. So if I have some complex diagnostic script I always run, I don't need to make sure it's installed on every one of my 50 different servers?
Exactly that. You connect, and your script is just there, ready to run. It completely sidesteps that initial configuration problem. It's a game changer for applying infrastructure as code principles, even to a really chaotic, mixed environment.
You're basically shifting the source of truth for your tooling from all those remote hosts back to your local control center.
That's a great way to put it. It's where it belongs.
Which brings us to the most important topic, security. If this thing is the master key to my kingdom, I have to trust it completely. How does it handle my data?
And this is where they take a very explicit, almost defiant stance against modern trends. The sources are crystal clear. There are no servers involved.
None.
None. The app doesn't send your personal data, your connection info, your keys, anything to an outside service. There is no cloud account you have to sign up for. It's a desktop tool, period.
That is a massive commitment to data sovereignty. I mean, in an age where every single tool wants you to create another cloud account, that's a huge deal.
It is. All your data is stored exclusively on your local machine inside a cryptographically secure vault. And they strongly recommend you add a custom master passphrase for another layer of local encryption.
And the credentials? Do I have to dump all my passwords into this new vault?
Not necessarily. In fact, it's designed not to. It integrates directly with your existing password manager.
Yeah.
It can retrieve the secrets it needs when it needs them from the tool you already trust. So it's more of an orchestrator, not a new place to store your most sensitive secrets.
Okay, but what about for teams? If a team wants to share the connection list, not the passwords, but the list of servers, how do they sync that without a central server?
They have an answer for that, but it comes with a critical condition. You can sync your vault, but only through your own self-hosted Git repository.
Ah, clever.
It's a deliberate choice. It ensures that even when you're sharing, your team keeps full control over where that sensitive metadata is stored.
Let's quickly touch on the business model here. The sources say it's an open core model. What does that mean for the user?
It means the main application, the core functionality we've been talking about, is fully open source. It's under the Apache 2.0 license. The paid plans, like the professional or home lab plans, are closed-source extensions that add more advanced niche features.
So the fundamentals are free and open.
Correct. And for big organizations that need it, They even offer source-available enterprise options, so there's a path to full transparency if you need it.
Okay, so just to be perfectly clear on deployment, this is a desktop app. It runs on your local workstation, not on a server.
Yes, that's the rule. It's the control center that connects out to your infrastructure.
And it seems like you can install it pretty much anywhere.
They've covered all the bases. Windows, Mac OS, Linux. You've got your standard installers, portable versions like zips and app images, and then every package manager you can think of. Jocko, Wingit, Scoop, Homebrew, apt, DNF, RPM. They even have official AUR and NixOS packages.
But what if you're, I don't know, on the road with just a tablet? You don't have your configured machine with you. How do you get to your setup?
That's where they have a really ingenious workaround. The WebTop Docker container image. Now, this isn't a web UI for XPipe itself.
Okay.
Instead, it's a full containerized desktop environment that runs in your browser using a tech called Chasm VNC. This container comes with XPipe, terminals, and editors all pre-installed. So you can run that container on a secure server you control, and then access your entire XPipe setup from any web browser, anywhere.
That is a very smart way to give anywhere access without breaking that local-first security model.
It is. And just to round things out, they also have all the advanced features you'd expect. Secure tunneling, automatically opening remote ports locally, and full support for running remote desktop apps through RDP, VNC, and X11 forwarding. They've tried to think of everything.
So if we had to boil it all down, what's the main takeaway for you, the listener?
The main takeaway is that XPipe really does deliver on that promise. It's an extensible connection hub that centralizes and secures access to incredibly diverse infrastructure. And the whole thing works because of that one critical design choice. No agents, no dependencies on your remote systems. That's the paradigm shift.
And that brings us to our final thought, a forward-looking piece from the source material. XPipe has this internal service called an MCP server.
A machine control protocol server.
Yeah.
Basically an API for the tool itself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's an API that lets other programs use all of XPipe's features, the connections, the scripting, everything. And the sources explicitly mention one particular use case, allowing easy access by an AI agent. So this raises a really provocative question for you to think about. What does the future look like where AI agents operating securely and locally through a tool like XPipe are the ones managing, monitoring, and even troubleshooting your entire fragmented server infrastructure completely on their own? And if they're doing that, what new, more interesting roles will that free you up to take on?